Hello, welcome to the Conservation Chronicles, the podcast for the Wildlife Trust for Lancashire, Manchester and North Merseyside. Today we are here on our wonderful floating visitor village at Brockholes Nature Reserve, and I am really pleased to be joined by Lorna Bennett, who is our Senior Reserve Officer, and Tony Parnell, who is one of the amazing volunteers that we have here at Brockholes. So many people are going to think about nature reserves kind of as these like ancient, wild, untouched places that have been here for millennia and that have just sort of somehow managed to avoid, the ravages of humankind. But that's not necessarily true for Brockholes, is it?
No, I mean, historically, it has been farmed, and then more recently, between 1994 and 2006, it was actually a sand and gravel quarry. Oh. So really invasively quarried, with it being alongside the River Ribble. It's a flood basin that was filled with sand and gravel. And so obviously, that was extracted. And sort of this scarred landscape has now become the nature reserve thanks to the Wildlife Trust taking it on in, I think, 2006, back end of 2006. The Lancashire Wildlife Trust took on the project and here we are today.
Here we are now. So actually it's quite a young nature reserve, if you can give nature reserves ages. Sort of how does that affect the landscape? Like what kind of does that mean for Brockholes that it's not been here for that long?
I suppose the main thing is it means it's finding its way. It's finding what the habitats want to be, and comparing that with what they were maybe designed by us humans to be. Yeah. So again, you've been here a little bit longer, Tony. You've seen it change from...
Yes, certainly. In the early days, when it was still a working quarry, a gang of us used to come down in the evenings, and we got permission off the company, the gravel company, to park in the lay-by on the access road.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a bit of a social occasion, really. But there were a lot of good birders that came down in the evenings, and we got quite a list together in the end, even though the quarry was still working, and it was almost all just a scarred landscape.
But there was wildlife.
Oh, there was wildlife here then. Yeah, I think somebody did a bird report, a list, and I think we've got 60 species.
Wow.
While it was still under construction, really.
Something, you don't necessarily recognise is that disturbed landscape is important, and we don't have sort of the big herbivores sort of breaking up landscapes now, and everything's very managed along our rivers mostly nowadays. So you don't get big scars where maybe a flood swept through or a bank has eroded or where large grazing animals have trashed an area. So I suppose instead the quarry was serving that purpose. The big machines trashing it had actually made habitats. So that's been an interesting element that we've needed to learn about and take on board as the site matures. Yeah. And ironically, one thing we do actually need to do is keep some bits disturbed. So you think of all habitats needing to be pristine and undisturbed, but that isn't really true of nature. Nature does need opportunities for sort of the early colonizers, you'd call them, sort of the little plants that would get out competed, and all the insects that want to sort of bury into the sand, and as Tony's saying, the birds, the sand martins, they're often associated with quarries.
Right.
It's...
Yeah, well, they traditionally always bred in the riverbanks.
Yes, that's how I've always kind of
where the river would have collapsed a bank, and so you've got a sandy face.
That exposed sand.
Oh wow!
But
so what other kind of species do we get moving into these kind of disturbed landscapes? What are some of your favourite things we've got on site here, Tony?
Favourite things at the moment?
Or just
now it's established.
Yeah.
I mean, we had one or two quite rare birds in the early days. I think when it was still the number one Pitt Island was still really gravel. We got a spotted sandpiper, which is quite a rare.
That must be really exciting.
We've had various harriers through over the years, including a Montague's harrier. which is
wow.
a good one.
Tony's a big fan of birds of prey. Big fan.
They are pretty cool.
And gets quite excited. So I'll qualify. So Tony is an active conservation volunteer here, and so he's been here long before me, and comes out and does all the practical jobs on site. But you will find that around about osprey time, his eyes are very much to the skies, not to the task in hand.
I don't think anyone can blame you for that.
But the result is, yes, that I can have gone through a day and be blissfully aware of what's actually up there. And Tony will be like, oh yeah, there's 3 ospreys been through.
Wow.
So yes.
So just to go back a step to kind of explain for someone who's never been to Brockholes before, what kind of habitats have we got here? What is here on the reserve?
I guess I'd say as a visitor for the first time, the main things you'd probably spot are you're going to arrive into the car parks, which are surrounded by meadows. We're constantly working on these to improve how many wildflowers there are in them. And so just recently, I say, the volunteer teams have been transplanting species from elsewhere into those meadows to diversify.
Right.
So areas where there's loads of wildflowers in one spot, we mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
So that also, again, you don't have to go far from your car. The hedgerows there. So Tony's been laying the hedgerows, teaching people traditional hedge laying.
I love hedge laying.
Yeah.
Which is something I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I've had some young people with me this winter, and the winter before.
Previous ones, yeah.
And one of the nice things, I had a young couple working with me, a young guy and a young lady. And the young guy said to me at the end of the session, I've really enjoyed this. I really appreciate the stuff you've shown me. I mean, I'm not an expert by any stretch, but it was lovely to get that feedback off him, to say he'd enjoyed it and it's something he would take on for the future, for himself.
Absolutely. I spent a day
really
hedge
good.
laying a little while ago, and it was honestly one of my favourite days ever.
Yeah.
I could hedge lay. Yeah.
It's
You've done some yourself.
Only a little bit. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
good because it's kind of problem solving, working out what each shrub's doing, knowing how to use your tools well.
It's a real skill.
There's quite a lot to learn.
It's brilliant.
I love it. It's good.
So we've got meadows, we've got hedgerows.
We have.
What else have we got on site?
What else are people going to spot on the way in?
Well, we've got a lot of that rough marshland, don't we?
Yeah.
There's
Which is
a lot of
really good
jumpers in it, but it's good habitat.
Good for your birds of prey. So the barn owls loving to feed over it, and buzzards often over it as well. We have
Short-eared owl recently.
Short-eared owl.
Oh, lovely.
Red kite sometimes through. They're more of a rarity around here, but we are getting them passing through.
Yes.
So these all benefit from, say, the rough land that you can't really distinguish anything specific to glance at it, but there's loads in there.
Yeah. And
I
what
guess,
about lakes?
I was going to say, the lakes and the reed beds is the obvious one. We're sat in a lake, on a floating visitor village. I guess it's the centrepiece of the reserve, really. And around that, so there's a lot of aquatic, species or waders, wildfowl that will use the lakes, and then the reed beds around them as well are quite buzzing with life, certainly during the summer months, and attract the bittern to winter here at least. So if we get our reed beds big enough and robust enough, we'd hope to be able to attract them to stay, but we're just not quite there yet. So there's always more work to be done. But reed beds are really quite nice. There's sort of a boardwalk you can pass through, and there's an interpretation board just gone in. So people can understand a bit about those. And again, how you use reed for thatching, what values it has, and how good it is for the wildlife.
Yeah, brilliant. So it's really beautiful. You've mentioned quite a few species there, but if you had any other the sort of standouts, tell us a bit more about those ospreys.
For me here, over the years, has been the hobby.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a migratory falcon. It's the only one. Falcon.
This is another one that evades my sight every year because I'm always looking down, and they're fast and they're up chasing dragonflies. They're
Right.
amazing. I've only seen it once, and them actually hunting and grabbing dragonflies in midair.
Yeah,
But
so-
really, really impressive. So agile.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
That's amazing.
So
One of my favourites.
Yes.
They are really.
And I think because we've got so many dragonflies, it's a really good hunting site for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, clearly it's a bit of a birder's paradise. What about sort of plants?
It's a good point. Yeah, I mean, say they're easier to look for.
Yeah,
they
they
don't
do
run
stay
away.
still,
They don't
which is
fly away.
so kind of them.
And as I said, the meadows are ever improving in terms of how many wildflowers we have in them. We've got a nice array of orchids, which are always a crazy plant that seems to just pop up sort of once in 8 years. You don't know when you're going to get them and where. But hunting for bee orchids is always quite a big thing on site here, because I say they are really cute as a little flower, an amazing
pretty.
evolutionary, thing that you've created this little bee out of a flower. But yeah, those, and then we have various wintergreen plants. So they're a peculiar little plant also because it's like a coastal thing really, but because we've got sand here, they've settled in here as well. So that's quite special to the area. And although several are in areas where the public can't go, we actually have some just on the way down to the visitor village. So it's just a little shiny leaved plant, but to say quite a rarity.
That's brilliant.
That's nice.
So, yeah, there's clearly always lots of work to be done sort of on and around the reserve. Volunteers are,
Absolutely.
I assume, incredibly important, an absolute lifeline. I always say that if all of our volunteers disappeared tomorrow, the entire Lancashire Wildlife Trust probably wouldn't make it to the end of the week.
I don't think so. Yeah,
So,
I'd agree.
Yeah, so Tony, what kind of brought you to volunteering at Brockholes?
That's an interesting
Why
one.
did you turn
My birding partner was doing some qualification, I forget what it was now, through Myerscough College
Okay.
on botany.
Ah,
And he was based at Brockholes. And the very week I retired from work, the first Tuesday, on the Monday actually, he rang me up on the Monday night and said, "Hey Tony, so you want to get yourself down to Brockholes? It's brilliant." He said, "I'm conservation volunteering a bit now, as well as doing my studies." So the rest is history, really.
So you
we
just
go.
went
down on the first
straight from
Tuesday,
work.
Yeah.
and we were given a job of painting the raft that carried the solar panels that were used to pump the water from number one pit to the dipping ponds.
Oh, wow.
That was a contraption and a half,
That
wasn't
was a
it?
contraction and a half, yeah.
That,
So anyway, I just carried on from there every Tuesday, really,
Right.
for
brilliant.
15 years.
I was going to say, how long? 15 years. Wow. That's amazing.
So it must be doing something good.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it is. But what about, like, for you? What do you get out of it? Because obviously you're giving up your time.
Well, you get a lot of things out of it, really. One of the things you get out of it, I didn't really get the chance to divorce myself from the people at work before I was in touch with a fresh group of people. So the social aspect of a working environment, which it is really, the things that sort of carried on.
Yeah.
And this is very important. We have, we meet on a Tuesday morning, our group doing the volunteer room, and put the world to rights for about half an hour.
they probably tell me what needs doing this week,
The
even though
topics
I've
of
got a plan.
conversation are very varied. Yeah. So that's a good one side of it. Out in the fresh air, and that's an upside, of course. And physical exercise. And also, one of the other things that I find strange about it, really, well, not strange, but I'll turn out on a Tuesday if it's lashing down with rain. Where ordinarily I probably wouldn't go out.
No, exactly.
But because you're committed to doing your volunteer work, you turn up.
Yeah.
Put the right clothes on because someone someone said once,
Some
no such
Wainwright
thing as
chap.
bad weather, just the wrong clothes.
Absolutely.
But I don't know about that. I'm not so sure about that. But anyway,
It's a camaraderie bit, isn't it? Really, you want to work as part of the team.
And there's such quite a varied experience and knowledge among the volunteers. I mean, some of the people are very good at botany.
Yeah.
Well, I know a few plants, but not many. And
in turn, you can
we pass each other's knowledge on. You know, when we're out in the field, if I see something fly over, I like to call it out because you know, not everybody knows what they are. You know, we're sort of, it's like a cross fertilization of information.
Absolutely, sort of sharing that knowledge and all just having a nice time.
Yeah.
Then, do you think you've met some people that, you know, ordinarily you might not have done, you know, just by coming down here?
Oh yes, certainly. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So
it's a good cross section, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I say we bring together, people from all different disciplines.
Because what you've got to realise when you're running a place like this, that people have had a former life, and they've got quite a lot of life skills that they bring with them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, they've been engineers, they've been whatever.
Yeah. And that's the joy of it in a way. Is a melting pot of all different people, young and old, totally different, walks of life. And the one thing really everyone's got in common is that they want to come to a nature reserve to volunteer their time instead of maybe volunteering it, in a charity shop or in other ways.
Yeah.
So that commonality unites the team. And then you all find where you fit together and how you can share information with each other and rub along together and, get lots done.
Yeah, it's good.
That's brilliant. Oh, it's great. But, okay, so it obviously can't all be sunshine and roses and ospreys and hobbies all day, if only. There are clearly challenges that come with looking after any wild space. What are some of the big issues that you think you're facing?
Who's the biggest challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're a charity and money will always be a challenge. And being able to find the monetary value, of what we do is ever a challenge.
Yeah.
People volunteering their time is invaluable, but it cannot buy the materials with which to fix a fence, for example.
Absolutely.
Having that engagement with people is really positive with our visitors, but also being in a place where other people can access, we can get some antisocial behaviour.
Yeah.
That's always pretty heartbreaking because everybody that works or volunteers here really, really cares.
Yeah.
So it's quite upsetting if people do vandalise elements of the site or, cause damage. That's a side that you try to, hide from others, but equally you have to therefore sort of absorb that and just battle on in defiance. And simply just not having enough resource is the biggie, I say, sort of linked with money, but also time and just to say that there's so much opportunity here, be it for enhancing habitats or enhancing how our visitors engage with habitats. I feel as though I want to be able to shout about all the lovely things that are here, and it's nice to convey it here and now, but to the visitor that comes every other day, I want them to be able to see, and follow trails and interpret what's out there.
Yeah.
So it's not so much just challenges, but it's seeing all the opportunities and not quite being able to race to achieve them all.
Yeah, I suppose it's one of those things that there's always going to be more things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And realistically, you're never going to manage everything.
No, I think I'd need to be cloned.
Yes, I think that'd be great, actually. I feel like if we could clone Lorna, that would make life pretty fantastic. So just picking up on what you were saying about visitors and engaging with those, because obviously Brockholes is kind of our flagship nature reserve. We get huge numbers of visitors coming through, which is wonderful. Do you find that there are certain things that people really love, or are there parts of the reserve that maybe people are missing out on, do you think? Or that are a bit more hidden?
I think it's mostly sort of referencing back to what I say about interpretation. It's
So that's kind of signage in the
yes,
boards
somebody
and
be
things
able to read some information or know what they're looking at. That if you haven't been to a nature reserve before, this is exactly where we'd like you to come and come and find out about nature. But it's where do you start looking? What do you look for? What is that thing?
Yeah.
And I say even just walking through the meadows on a summer's day and the amount of little damselflies, you know, it's sort of awash with all these little blue mini dragonflies and things. And I suppose they say it's that people need to sort of know to look for that and know what that means and how exciting that is.
Yeah.
So yes, it's how people experience the reserve can be guided by us maybe a little bit.
And I know we've got there's a visitor centre and we've got amazing volunteers who kind of work in there. And
yes, and give guided walks. So say if you want to learn more about the flowers, there are free guided walks to come along and, you know.
And they are lovely.
Yeah, they're lovely.
They're really, really good.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think it's kind of, it's about bringing people into that space and letting them engage with it. I mean, where did, you know, both of you two clearly have a real love of nature and the natural environment and wildlife and birds of prey especially. Where did that come from? Like, Tony, where do you think your love of nature stemmed from?
Well, I was taken out, it's a bit controversial actually. I was taken out as a young sprut into the hunting field when my father was into fox hunting.
Okay.
And I used to go out as a child with him.
Yeah.
And we were in nature, you know, we were in the woods and fields.
And you'd learn, everything as you go along, don't you?
You see a different side of life, really.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
From then on, it developed into field sports, really.
Right. Okay. So you were just kind of always out.
And then I abandoned that when sometime in my late 20s, I thought, well, no, I've had enough of this. And I actually joined a ringing group.
Oh, yes. So you've done bird ringing, haven't you? I forget that.
That was really a spin-off from field sports. Actually, my passion in the bird ringing side was actually catching the birds. That was good for me.
Yeah.
We used to min mist nets, and so it went on from there. So I started.
Right.
Yeah.
And as a become a qualified ringer, I then really got concentrated on ornithology. As a sort of offshoot of that, really. I wasn't a birder until I started ringing, you know.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. I wonder how many people have got into bird ringing and then birding
and then bird
the other way around.
Yes, exactly.
A young guy I worked with, he said to me he'd joined the ringing group.
Yeah.
And I used to know his grandfather because I used to buy ferrets off him and stuff.
Oh, really?
So I knew his grandfather. He was a poacher anyway. And he said, I'm going to join the ringing group. You want to come down and have a look? It's brilliant.
Oh, wow.
So I went down that one weekend and
the rest is history.
Had 4 years doing that.
Wow, that's brilliant.
In fact, I was looking at my logbook the other day, and it was phenomenal. The number of species I'd ringed and the number of birds. It was great. Yeah.
Wow, what an amazing experience.
But then I moved to Lancashire from Nottingham and couldn't get into a ringing group because it's quite a tight-knit, close-knit community.
Right.
You spend hours and hours with people in the, you know, when you put your nets up, and if
you're not part of that
if you don't fit
group,
in, it can be a bit
tricky. Okay.
You know, so,
but I think that showcases in a way, so again, I've been brought up in the countryside, but it showcases that the slightest opportunity could pave the way, even if you haven't really had access to nature.
Yeah.
You just need that opportunity to go and experience it with a certain activity, maybe with someone that you've met, someone suggests coming along to a certain guided walk. And that might be the stepping point into actually coming and learning more and then really developing a passion in, you know, the way that Tony's avenue through bird ringing has led him to be really quite an expert on, you know,
I don't know about
ornithology. No, but you are. You really, you know, you're excellent at ID. And
I'm okay, Lorna.
I think you're being modest.
I've birded with professional birders.
Okay.
And
Maybe
you
they're in
realise
the
when you bird with professional birders how inadequate you are. You do, certainly, honestly.
I mean, yeah, you
It's
do.
all relative.
There's always layers of
But I think,
knowledge, isn't there?
that's almost the thing, that say you don't need to be an expert.
No.
You just need to love doing it. And sometimes you don't know you'll love it until you try it.
Yeah.
So it's getting that first opportunity and how to, come and experience
Yeah.
it. And there are lots of ways to do that.
Absolutely. I think that's where Brockholes sits in quite a nice place because, you know, you get some real proper, you know,
Naturalists that
high
really
level
know their
ecologists,
stuff.
naturalists, birders coming down here, but also you get families with small kids coming basically as a day out and to get them away from the telly. And,
Exactly. And so, you know, one of those comes on a bird walk and thinks, oh, yeah, you know, I really enjoyed that. I'll get some binoculars for, you know, my 10-year-old, and then we'll go out and do some bird watching together. And
that can
When they engage with you, when you're out in the field, you know, you can
You're
show
really
them
good
different things.
with, kiddies.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It gives me a buzz, that does. Because they're the future, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've got Brockholes here. It's now, it's beautiful. It's kind of ever changing, but what would be your vision, say, for Brockholes in a perfect world in maybe like 20, 50, 100 years? What would you really love to see here?
Okay.
Find a way, if we could find a way to keep the islands, the big islands, clear of vegetation. So they're just covered in virtual.
Yeah, ironically, yes.
But it's
having
not
more disturbed land on the islands
It's not going to happen,
would be great.
really.
No.
Because it's not really feasible. You've got to keep beavering away.
Yes, and we're exploring, I say, recently when the water levels were obviously low, and we've rejigged a few bits. So the aim is to be able to really sort of flood things up in winter and then lower and let the mud be exposed to attract the birds. So there's forever exploring. I'd like to think we'll have found our happy place with the islands, which currently are an ongoing battle.
Tell us what's been going on with the islands. I know there's been quite a lot of work.
Yeah, lots of work. Yeah. I mean, I say for years, because nature doesn't stand still. All the trees were dropping seeds onto these lovely bare muddy spaces that the waders were using. So our lapwing and snipe and things that were all probing in the mud. Well, it was becoming overgrown with trees, and to the point that then fox could move in, and suddenly it's not a happy place for a bird on the ground because Mr. or Mrs. Fox was going to be eating it. So we've known, you know, for years that we're getting some quite significant problems, and we were going to lose those birds. They would have to go elsewhere. So we've found the money to really hit it hard. For years, I say, we were hacking out there with mattocks. I was slave driving this gang from 10 till 3 in the sideways hail and things, because it was always winter to not disturb the wildlife. And we were physically hacking out every tree manually. And then putting them in trailers, taking them off site, making habitat heaps. We've mechanised. We upgraded.
I'm assuming you're pleased about that, Tony.
We upgraded to a digger and a dumper. And a contractor. So we've got all the trees removed from the islands that we wanted them taken off from, and the soil and excess taken off, so that now we don't have the foxes hiding out there. And we also put up a sort of fox exclusion zone. So the fox has everywhere else on the nature reserve, but they're not allowed on the islands. So that's fairly critical.
Yeah, so I was just having a look around earlier, and there's what looks like kind of the floating ropes for like swimming lanes.
Like we're doing a swimming gala.
Yes.
We're not doing a swimming gala.
Not a swimming gala.
It might be a little swimming gala for foxes, but the principle is, research in Europe certainly suggests that, to say, foxes readily swim. We've seen them swim out to the islands.
Right.
And they particularly will swim out if there's a meal to be had, obviously.
Yeah.
But apparently they don't like putting their heads underwater.
Okay.
much like me when I'm swimming. And they can't negotiate getting over a floating rope. So they'll swim to the rope and then they turn back. Or might have a little swim round if they wish, but they can't get beyond the rope. So the rope encompasses the island and protects the island from the fox getting to it. So that's the purpose of the floating ropes.
That's very clever. I didn't realise foxes didn't like getting their hair wet.
Exactly.
I've got visions of them in like rollers and hairnets.
Yeah, exactly. A little Speedo swim hat.
Okay, and so then, like, the idea is that the island stays.
So if we can keep the island muddy by putting the water up and down to make the ground wet and to kill off any little tiny tree seedlings.
Yeah.
And probably go and drive the digger around out there now and then as well. So we have a little tiny digger that we can drive around and make a bit of mud.
Okay.
And then put the water up for a bit, kill off the tree seedlings, put the water down, and then it's like the buffet is open because you've got all the invertebrates there in that mud. And the mud's ready to be probed because it's soft enough that the birds with all their long beaks can go and push down into the mud.
And we can, like, artificially manage the water levels.
Oh, well, to a point. It's an ongoing battle.
Right.
We can't put water in. Rain has to put water in.
Okay.
But we can hold water to certain levels and let it out more accurately now.
Right.
So we have to sort of, try and manage balancing rainfall and outflow. And we can hold it to false levels, basically.
Right. Okay.
And then obviously we do flood. We're a floodplain. So
hence the floating village.
Hence the floating village.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Tell me, why are we on a floating village?
Because it floods.
And when it floods, it doesn't half flood, so it will go up, many meters in height to the point that this village is floating very high and you can't get on it without a boat.
Wow.
And you can't get into or out of sight because the water across the road is too high to get a vehicle through.
Right.
So the power of nature and the power of the river is pretty formidable and not to be messed with.
No.
I mean, I did write off my car, leaving it in the wrong place when the river flooded.
Oh, Lord.
It's a bad day.
That's not a great sign. Oh, no.
A pretty bad day at the office, that one.
Didn't
That's dedication for you.
see your car floating down the river.
Pretty much.
No. That is dedication.
So, yes, the cattle needed feeding that day.
Right.
And I didn't realise there was a flood coming.
Oh.
So I got off site safely, but my car didn't.
Oh, no.
Never mind.
Well. Oh dear, that is dedication on it. Okay, so you were just mentioning cattle. So we do have another podcast episode all about our amazing conservation grazing. But just to touch on it, if people are coming to site, we're a nature reserve and there is amazing bird life and dragonflies and damselflies and butterflies and all sorts of wonderful wildlife. And there's also cows.
Yes.
So what are the cows doing here?
Well, they tie in. They're great for the birds and the butterflies and the wildlife, basically. So they're out managing all the land that is too wet and too undulating, sort of boggy and things for us to be able to manually do or to do with mowers.
Right.
And they break it up. The way they graze is able to sort of diversify what's out there. They're a traditional breed. You'll find out all about them in the other podcast.
Yeah.
And they're just, really great conservation volunteers in their own right.
Oh, okay.
So they're my extra volunteer team.
Tony.
One of the things I noticed on Sunday, I was doing a webs count on Sunday. And
What's a webs
Wetlands
count?
and Estuaries Bird Survey.
Okay.
Yeah. My pal and I, who also volunteers here, we did it on the Ribble Estuary for 35 years.
Oh, wow.
And then we decided we're going to retire. And the very month we retired,
I had a vacancy.
We got seconded on doing webs at Brockholes.
So it seems like basically you just retire and then come here.
But this is, you can do this in your dancing slippers,
This one doesnn't involve jumping ditches.
No, it's
the
not.
previous one
Not like
was
being on the
racing the
Solman.
tide. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but I noticed I said to Brian on Sunday, I said, look at that tree. It looks like a tree you'd see on the Serengeti. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, look, it's a been grazed, browsed round.
Yes.
You know where the animals on the plains browse the
So
they
as
have that
high as they
kind of
can reach.
flat bottom
it's
almost,
lovely,
don't they?
The willow tree, or, you know, the
yes.
bun that goes between.
Yes. No, very much so. It's
Number one, and a lot of the trees will be like that. Yeah, it's fantastic because the cattle we've got are browsers, they're not really grazers.
Okay.
They bite a bit of this and a bit of that because they self-medicate as well. So.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
So
if they're a bit deficient on iron, they'll go for some nettles with plenty of iron in them, you know. All sorts of, very clever instinctive behaviours.
That's really
And
cool.
that does shape the landscape as a result.
Yes.
So that helps diversify our site and, you know, break it up. We talked about disturbed land being important.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say, every hoof print that the cow makes is a little pocket of habitat for something else. You know, so it's
interesting.
valuable.
That's really interesting. So there are obviously lots of things happening on the reserve all the time. Sometimes, we're having to do things that might look a bit kind of bit scary. So you're saying, you know, we mechanise, we bring in diggers and stuff.
Big bulldozers and things. That's quite invasive,
and sometimes we have to do kind of tree felling. So that might seem a little counterintuitive. You know, we're a wildlife trust, it's a nature reserve. Why are we felling trees?
It's a very good question, and ironically, tree felling is quite a big part of the job, but it is again all part of diversifying and enhancing the site. Actually, it might be that the trees are growing in a place that is degrading a habitat. So in some places, if the trees become naturally established in a lake edge, for example, then they start to suck the reed beds dry. So it's really important that that doesn't happen. And in nature, we'd have beavers dealing with that for us.
Yes.
So maybe in the future, you asked earlier about what my aspirations would be.
Beavers at Brockholes.
Well, I won't be doing all the felling. The beavers can go and do it for me. That would be brilliant. So there's that side of it. And there's also managing, sadly, disease and the fact that we have many diseases, you know, travel worldwide. And from Europe, we got the ash dieback not so long ago. It's spread all the way up through the country. We knew it was coming. And sadly, we have probably thousands of ash trees on this site, of which they reckon about 80% are going to die. So a dead tree can be really important as well. So we keep quite a few of them standing where we can because that's great for woodpeckers and things to get into. But obviously anywhere that they're very densely planted and not creating a good habitat anyway, or where they're at risk of falling on people, then we will have to go out and fell them. But that's just an opportunity in its own right. It takes a lot of time, it looks very invasive, but in place of these very closely planted, very structured ash trees that were planted as part of the quarry screening. So they're not planted for biodiversity, they were just planted to grow fast and be a screen. So instead we can make a more diverse structure with berry producing trees and fruit producing trees. And so it is positive on the flip side of what can be perceived as a bit of a negative.
Absolutely. And we do have some ancient woodland on site as well.
Yes.
Indeed.
So yes, and to the point, it's designated as a triple SI, so a site of special scientific importance. So that's the big woodland flanking the northern side of the site, Boylton Wood. We very much minimise how much work we do in there in terms of removing limbs of trees and things rather than whole trees. But beautiful woodland. If you come in spring when the bluebells are out, then it's awash with bluebells. And yes, it's just a nice sort of tranquil walk. And actually, I mean, it extends up beyond Brockholes for many miles. If you really fancy going for a long walk, then you can walk onwards from Boylton to Red Scar and Tunbrook. So big tract of woodland.
That's amazing. And pretty wonderful where it's autumn now, so pretty amazing sort of fungi.
Yes, very good. I'm no fungi expert. I don't know. We were just discussing this earlier. That much like a lot of species, they also look different when they're just emerging to when they're mature. So I just think I've learnt one, and then I'm like, oh no, that's it as well. But that's half the fun of it. And that's at whatever level you're at with wildlife, learning and experience, you're always learning.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, Tony saying with humility that he's no bird expert, he knows a great deal, but there's always more to learn.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the beauty of it, really, because you never stop learning.
Yeah,
there's always something. I've been doing it for. I mean, I'm nearly 80 now, and I've been doing it most of my life. And and what fascinates me is that I can go for a few months, and then something will crop up, and I think, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's amazing. You never stop learning. It's a fascinating subject. It's so diverse, you see. That's the thing.
Yes, there's always stuff. Like, I'm no sort of expert on particularly anything, but I love things like the iNaturalist app and Merlin.
So nowadays, Merlin has just opened up to everyone. So
Merlin
all my
has
friends
made my life.
who didn't have an interest in birds now message me with things saying, "Oh, I've just heard of so-and-so."
It's brilliant.
Merlin's told me so.
I used it to, we identified a pie fly catcher.
There you go. Yes,
and
exactly.
it was so exciting. It's one of the best things.
But when you use this artificial intelligence, does it stick with you?
Some of it, I am just like,
because if you've researched.
Yes,
the
old-fashioned way is probably a good way.
Because you've struggled to identify that bird, you know, I think that probably sticks a bit more.
I think I think that's
but
true.
Probably these apps do engender the interest, don't they? If you can get an ID and you think, oh wow, it is that, you know.
Yeah.
It's probably that.
I think that's it, that you can look and listen, particularly for the bird app, you know, and similar things that you say, you can look at something and think, I think it's that, and then you can kind of verify it nowadays.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
it gives you that bit more confidence to go out and look for more.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So, okay, we're kind of running out of time a little bit, but I know we could go on, but just kind of some of your favourite kind of experiences that you've had here at Brockholes, maybe something you've seen, something that you've...
I can probably start. There's a few. The irony is most of my really positive experiences have come after a bad day. You mentioned earlier that it can't all be, you know, happy. And it is really, really tough. You know, there are days when something bad has happened. You might have found injured wildlife. You might have, you know, had bad experiences with, say, negative occurrences on site with, you know, vandals and things. And you're on a really low ebb. And to say, I used to cycle always to work. I've actually moved now, but so I was always cycling along the Guild Wheel. And there've been multiple occurrences when I'm getting my bike to go home and I'm feeling a bit low. And on one occasion, the barn owl just came so close over my head that I could feel its wings. As I'm just cycling along in the dark, and there's just me and the barn owl. And, you know, your heart just goes.
Yeah.
And I had to stop and I just had a moment to myself at that point. And I was like, this is why it's worthwhile. This is why I'm here.
That's amazing.
It's not all doom and gloom. It's wonderful. And similarly, I see roe deer a lot on site, so that's always a nice moment. But again, cycling on the battle up Boylton Hill as I cycle out.
That is quite a hill.
Yes. I had a good excuse to stop because, again, a deer just comes and stands with her fawn, and they just stood in a very confiding way and just watched me as I just ground to a halt. They obviously knew I couldn't get... And you just... feel that sense of warmth and happiness that you're providing that habitat, that they trust that you can't do them any harm. And that was their little quiet moment and mine at the same time.
That's wonderful.
So I have many similar wildlife encounters that were unexpected. And just at a time when you're feeling pretty down, they really pick you up.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Tony? Have you got any that particularly spring to mind?
Yesterday, doing webs.
There you go. Yeah.
We do, because when you're doing a survey, you look at everything. You're not just walking around having a cursory glance here and there.
Okay.
You look at every bird, really. Because you do that, you think at the end of the day. I said to Brian at the end of the day yesterday, I said, "That was good, that, wasn't it?" Because we had 6 species of duck. We had a lot of snipe on the crassula, out here,
Yeah.
about 15 snipe. And then I saw a red fox at the bottom end, and that was absolutely brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah. Just
Give me a buzz that did seeing the fox. I thought
Yes.
that's superb, that.
Yes.
And a deer as well there, you know.
Yes.
Wow.
Because you don't see them every day, do you?
No, not at all. And
it's stopping and reflecting, on just how much there is. Sometimes our lives are a bit too busy and we're always charging around, I'm cracking the whip with the volunteer team. But sometimes if you just look around you, it's quite
wonderful.
humbling and quite
is.
nice.
It is.
Just stop and
lovely.
look and enjoy.
You've got to work at it a bit to see nature here. That's the only thing.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not one of those sort of nature reserves where you go and sit in a bird hide and
it's on a plate in
you
front
get,
of you.
you get the Chinese whispers, somebody at the end of the hide
Yeah.
spots something and then the word goes down and everybody sees it.
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult here sometimes. You've got
It's a big reserve and there's a lot of opportunity, but it's finding good places to maybe sit and take that time and watch for things. To be fair, the kingfishers have been showing really well from the visitor village, so you can even sit with a cup of tea and just wait for them to show up now.
That would be pretty great. I was going to say, have you got any other little hints, tips? Can you pass on a bit of insider
just
information?
sit and watch, really. You've got to put the time in.
Yeah.
You can't expect to turn up for half an hour and have a cursory look round and then say, I didn't see much. But, you've got to put 2 or 3 hours in, really, if you can.
Yeah.
And be open-minded as to what you're looking for and listen as well, I think. So the kingfish would be a prime example that I can be walking along with a volunteer and they're saying, I've never seen a kingfisher. And I'll say, well, there's one over there. And it's knowing how to look, which is to say being really open-minded, listening for different sounds, looking for movements. And once you sort of get that, then you can pick up on all sorts and your world opens up.
And one last thing I have got to mention is, because we're heading to that time of year, we're in autumn now, is the starling murmurations.
I haven't seen many yet. They're little groups at the minute.
Okay.
It's usually around late November kind of time that we'd be getting the numbers.
Yeah.
The habitat's there. Everything suggests they'll come and settle and do
They'll
their
be
thing,
back again.
but not yet.
I remember last year I was here with a film crew and I was like, oh yeah, ha ha ha, 4:10, there'll be a murmuration, that'll be fine. And literally at 4:10 there was a murmuration.
there we go.
I was like, thank you so much.
How often does
darling.
that
So
happen?
kind of you. But yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? There is a lot. There's so much here, but it's about opening.
Yeah, enjoying what's around you and staying open-minded. Say the wildlife is pretty confiding. The deer will often have eyes on you, even if you can't see them. Just getting out your car, I bet there's a deer watching you. There are a lot of them around now.
Wow.
And I say if you're lucky, it will just boldly stroll across in front of you. But to say, yes, being aware of movements and of sounds and things, I think gives you more pleasure.
You may see an otter as well.
The otters, yes.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of otters
Yes,
on the
otter
river
movements,
here.
yes.
Wow.
So
They
the
tend to come
viewpoints at the
into
top.
when the river's in flood, they tend to use the pits, don't they?
Yes, the lakes here
Yeah.
are obviously a safer spot when the river's full pelt.
Yes.
So they pop in here for a bit of quiet fishing.
So that's the star species for me here.
Really?
To be fair, yes. Yeah, they are quite special.
I came out last year, I think it was, or year before, helping do a Wimbrel survey.
Yes.
And which is a wading bird that migrates. And the guy that I was with had an image intensifier.
Oh, yes.
We went down to it got dark and we couldn't see the birds anymore, so we went down to the river and we were looking across the river and he found 3 otters.
Watching the otters,
Yes.
Oh,
It was
wow.
brilliant,
That's pretty great. I think we could probably sit here and talk about amazing Brockholes wildlife all day. We are going to have to wrap it up. But thank you so much for joining us and for giving us a bit of time and telling us a bit more about this amazing place. If you want to find out more about Brockholes at home, go onto our website, sign up for our newsletter. There'll be loads of information about things that are happening both here, right across Lancashire, Manchester and North Merseyside, different ways that you can get involved, maybe volunteering, coming along to events, or just come to a nature reserve and experiencing it. Another great way to support us is by signing up as a member. Membership starts from as little as £4 a month, and all of that is just incredibly important, goes directly to supporting our conservation work here. So yeah, thank you again so much.
It's a pleasure.
And thanks for listening.